Afternoon guys, yung topic natin for today is yung module natin na mucus controlling drugs. So this presentation focuses on how mucus is produced in the respiratory system and how different drugs help control abnormal mucus production. So yung mucus natin hindi lang siya basta plema. It also plays an essential role in protecting the lungs. However, when its composition or clearance is altered, it becomes harmful instead of protective. So sa next slide natin, i-discuss muna natin yung physiology of mucus production. So before natin i-discuss yung ibang topic, we must first understand kung paano naproproduce or nakiklear yung mucus natin. So since mucus production and clearance are part of the lung's natural defense system, the respiratory tract constantly encounters dust, bacteria, viruses, and other pollutants. So without mucus kasi, these particles would reach the alveoli and pwede siyang mag-cause ng infection or damage sa ating airways. Thus, mucus production is a protective and necessary process. So next slide would be the overview of the mucociliary system. So yung mucociliary system natin, ito yung primary mechanical defense ng ating airways. So its main components is ciliated epithelial cells, goblet cells, submucosal glands. So yung tatlong yun, pseudostratified ciliated epithelial cells, which yung goblet cells na nagproproduce ng mucus, and submucosal glands na nagsisecrete ng additional mucus. So yung cilia natin, as we can see here sa may image, yung parang hair-like structure, yan yung cilia natin. So yung cilia na yan, nagbi-beat siya or nagmo-move in a coordinated upward motion papunta sa pharynx natin. Yung movement na yun, tinatawag siyang mucociliary escalator. So yung function ng ating mucociliary escalator is simple pero importante siya kasi yung mucus natin, tinatrap niya yung inhaled particles and then yung cilia natin, hinahelp niya yung mucus na yon to move upward. And after na pumunta na sa taas sa pharynx natin yung particles, it is then swallowed or coughed out. Kapag nag-fail yung system natin na to, infection risk increases significantly. So next slide would be the structure of airway secretions. So airway secretions have a two-layer structure. The first one would be the gel layer. As we can see, here's the image. Itong nasa taas is yung gel layer. And then sol layer, which is yung sa under lang ng gel layer, this one. So the gel layer is siya yung outer mucus blanket na nagtatrap ng particles. And the sol layer, or also known as periciliary layer, is siya yung watery layer, yan, beneath the gel layer, that allows cilia to move freely. Siya yung nag-allow sa cilia para mag-move siya ng upward direction. Yung gel layer natin, nagfo-float lang siya sa taas ng layer. Since watery siya, parang yung gel layer natin is parang nagfo-float lang siya doon. For cilia to function properly, the sol layer must maintain proper depth and hydration. Kasi if may dehydration man na mangyari, guys, the gel layer can become too thick and pwede siyang mag-stick sa airway surface natin, making clearance difficult. Yung problem na to, parang major problem siya sa diseases like cystic fibrosis, ganun. So next up is, where does mucus come from? Saan ba nanggagaling mong mucus natin, plema natin? So mucus is produced by goblet cells na located sa ating airway surface and also submucosal glands na nasa deeper airway layers naman. So, para sympathetic stimulation, ini-increase na yung mucus secretion. So, ina-explain neto kung bakit yung vagal stimulation natin is nakaka-increase siya ng airway secretions. So, here we have clinical examples in cases like chronic bronchitis. So, prolonged irritation ng airway natin pwede siyang mag-cause ng goblet cell hyperplasia, meaning yung number ng mucus-producing cells is dumadami siya. So this will lead to excessive mucus production and chronic productive cough. So next is we have physical properties of mucus. So remember guys, mucus is viscoelastic, meaning nagbe-behave siya both like liquid and a solid. So we have 4 key properties. VECA, which is viscosity, elasticity, cohesivity, and adhesivity. So yung viscosity, nagpe-pertain siya sa thickness or resistance to flow ng ating mucus. Elasticity is yung ability niya to recoil, cohesivity naman, ability to stick to itself, adhesivity is ability to stick to airway walls. So, para magkaroon tayo ng effective mucus clearance, dapat meron tayong low viscosity and dapat adequate din yung elasticity. Kasi if masyadong makapal yung mucus natin, hindi siya makakagalaw or hindi siya parang malilipat, gano'n. Tapos kapag too elastic naman siya, baka hindi siya mag-break up during coughing, parang parang buo-buo, gano'n. So, dapat yung balance is crucial, dapat mababang low viscosity, hindi masyadong makapal or hindi masyadong thick, hindi din masyadong manipis, gano'n. And then adequate elasticity. So, next up, we have hydration control or ion transport. So, airway hydration is controlled by ion transport mechanism, which yung sodium is absorbed and chloride is secreted through the CFTR channel. And then yung water natin, fina-follow niya yung ion movement. So, yung process na to, yung hydration control or yung ion transport natin, mina-maintain niya yung depth ng soil layer. In cases like cystic fibrosis, yung CFTR channel natin defective siya. So yung chloride secretion nagde-decrease and then yung water movement din nagde-decrease. So yung soil layer natin is nade-dehydrate siya. So as a result nun, parang nagiging makapal, mas nagiging thick yung mucus natin, mas nagiging sticky siya and mas nagiging difficult siya na parang i-clear gano'n. So nagle-lead 'yan sa chronic infection and airway. Puwede siya mag-lead sa chronic infection and airway obstruction. So next up, we have here parang mucus indices. So in cases ng cystic fibrosis natin, yung mucus natin is thick siya and it is rich in extracellular DNA from neutrophils. In chronic bronchitis naman, meron tayong excessive mucus production due to goblet cell hyperplasia, parang in-explain ko kanina. And then sa asthma, since sa asthma meron tayong inflammations ng airway, it will lead to mucus plugging which can obstruct airways. In bronchorrhea naman, it produces excessive watery sputum, about more than 100 ml per day. So common clinical signs include chronic cough, dyspnea, crackles, and airway obstruction. Kapag na-accumulate yung mucus na yun, pwedeng mag-decrease yung ventilation natin and mag-i-increase din yung infection risk. So next topic would be the mucolytics. So ano nga ba ang mucolytics? So mucolytics are drugs that reduce mucus viscosity or yung thickness ng mucus by altering its structural components. So nag-work to by breaking disulfide bonds in mucin proteins, degrading extracellular DNA, and by disrupting polymer networks. So by reducing structural bonds, mucus become less thick and mas madali siyang i-clear. So these drugs are especially useful when sputum is abnormally thick. So next one would be the N-acetylcysteine or NAC. So yung N-acetylcysteine natin, it is one of the classic mucolytic agents. So as explanation is yung itong N-acetylcysteine natin, nag-work siya by breaking yung disulfide bonds na nagko-connect dun sa mucoprotein strands in mucus. So yung mucus natin kasi nagiging thick siya dahil sa mucoproteins na naka-cross-link by these bonds. So when yung ating N-acetylcysteine, 'pag brinake niya na yung bonds na yun, yung mucus network natin mas nagiging less rigid siya and nade-decrease yung viscosity and then yung secretion natin mas nagiging manipis. However, although it chemically reduces yung viscosity, hindi siya always nagtra-translate na hindi ibig sabihin na parang lumipis yung mucus natin, hindi ibig sabihin na parang mas magiging madali or mas mag-i-improve yung mucus clearance clinically. Dahil do'n, that is why it is not routinely recommended for chronic lung diseases. Major problems kasi is also bronchospasm. Parang nagre-result yung N-acetylcysteine to bronchospasm, airway irritation, and strong sulfur odor. So we have here clinical considerations for N-acetylcysteine. So yung N-acetylcysteine kasi natin, puwede niyang ma-irritate yung airway, especially in patients na may asthma and reactive airway disease. So, puwede tayong magkaroon ng complications na bronchospasm, which is yung pinaka-serious na complications na. na we have rhinorrhea and stomatitis. Pwede din magkaroon tayo ng increase ng coughing. Dahil dito, yung N-acetylcysteine natin, kapag gagamitin natin siya, dapat before natin siyang gamitin, i-pre-treat natin muna yung patient natin ng bronchodilator para ma-reduce yung risk ng bronchospasm. So clinically, this is why N-acetylcysteine use has decreased compared sa safer alternatives like Dornes alpha. So talking about Dornes alpha, next slide. Dornes alpha or pulmozyme. So slide na to, introduce natin dito yung most important mucolytic for cystic fibrosis. So yung pinaka-important na mucolytic for cystic fibrosis is the Dornes alpha or pulmozyme. So indication natin for our Dornes alpha is yun nga, cystic fibrosis. So yung mechanism na to, kapag yung cystic fibrosis sputum natin is thick because it contains large amounts of extracellular DNA from destroyed neutrophils. So Dornes alpha is a recombinant human DNase enzyme. So ang ginagawa niya, bini-breakdown niya yung extracellular DNA and nire-reduce niya yung thickness ng sputum and also ini-improve na yung mucus flow. Unlike sa N-acetylcysteine which bini-break niya yung protein bonds, yung Dornes natin tina-target na yung DNA specifically. So this makes Dornes alpha ideal for cystic fibrotic patients. So next up, we have yung clinical benefits ng ating Dornes alpha. So studies show na ini-increase ng Dornes alpha yung lung function natin and it also decreases frequency of infections and reduces hospitalizations. Kasi mainly, tina-target ng ating Dornes alpha is yung main cause ng ating sputum thickness sa cystic fibrosis. So, kino-consider natin tong Dornes alpha as first-line therapy since it improves both short-term symptoms and long-term outcomes. So next is we have the clinical application for cystic fibrotic case. So this slide applies knowledge to the real case. So, kunwari, patient presents with thick green sputum, chronic infection, and decreased FEV1. So yung thick green sputum natin, sinasuggest noon na may high neutrophil activity, which is parang magkakos siya ng high extracellular DNA. So best therapy dito is Dornes alpha and airway clearance techniques. So reason kasi is cystic fibrosis sputum is DNA rich. So DNA therapy is the most logical treatment. So important reminder lang, the therapy must be combined with airway clearance for optimal results. Para mas maganda yung results, we should always combine drug therapy with airway clearance. So next one is our emerging agents, which is yung mga developing therapies. In cystic fibrosis, not only DNA but also F-actin filaments from inflammatory cells contribute to sputum thickness. So emerging drugs, we have gelsolin and thymosin beta-4. So these drugs, ang ginagawa niya is binibreak niya yung inflammatory filament networks. It also reduce mucus tenacity and may improve clearance. However, tong mga drugs na to, tong mga emerging drugs na to, they are still under investigation. So hindi pa siya parang standard therapy. So next topic, we have expectorants. So sa expectorants natin. Ano nga ba ang expectorants? So expectorants are drugs that increase hydration of airway secretions. So, yung ano natin, expectorants natin, nagdi-differ siya. Iba siya sa mucolytics kasi they do not break chemical bonds in mucus. Instead, ang ginagawa nila is, ini-increase nila yung hydration ng airway secretions natin and nire-reduce yung mucus tenacity, which makes sputum easier to cough out. So, they work mainly by improving airway fluid balance. So next is we have hypertonic saline, which 7%. So hypertonic saline is a commonly used expectorant sa cystic fibrosis cases. So, ang mechanism nito, it creates an osmotic gradient which nagko-cause yun for water to move into our airway lumen, which increase also the hydration of mucus and improves mucociliary transport. So, because yung cystic fibrosis natin is dehydrated, this therapy directly addresses that problem. Pero we have side effects though, like bronchospasm and cough. Pero pwede natin siyang parang i-treat or pre-treatment bago tayo gumamit ng hypertonic saline. Pwede natin siyang i-pre-treatment with bronchodilator. Recommended siya to pre-treat with bronchodilator muna. So next up, we have guaifenesin, which yung slides na 'to explains a common oral expectorant. So yung ating guaifenesin is a common oral expectorant. So it stimulates airway fluid production, possibly through reflex mechanisms. Ini-increase na yung volume of secretions, making them easier to expectorate. So in clinical use, it is used in upper respiratory congestion and or also sa cases ng common cold. However, evidence is limited for lower airway diseases such as cystic fibrosis or chronic bronchitis. Hindi siya ginagamit as primary therapy for serious pulmonary conditions. And then we have iodine agents. So yung sa slide naman na to for our iodine agents, it introduces another type of expectorant which is iodine containing agents. For example, is we have potassium iodide. So, ang mechanism nito is yung potassium iodide natin nagwo-work siya by increasing yung airway fluid secretion. It stimulates respiratory tract glands, leading to increased volume of secretions, thinner mucus, and easier expectoration. Like other expectorants naman, hindi siya nagbe-break ng mucus bonds. Simply, nag-i-increase lang siya ng hydration. So next, we have clinical consideration pala. Since the clinical consideration for our iodine agents then, however, there is a limited strong clinical evidence supporting na yung routine neto na ginagamit sa chronic pulmonary diseases because of limited evidence and potential side effects like iodism, thyroid effects with prolonged use. Kaya since dahil sa limited strong clinical evidence na 'to, hindi siya commonly used sa modern respiratory practice. Pero puwede siya natin i-consider for temporary use in selected cases of thick secretions, but it is not first line in therapy then. Like hindi siya first choice for therapy. So to end po, we have quick comparison here ng expectorants natin. So puwede na natin 'tong basahin para mas mabilis na lang i-memorize yung mga drugs and actions and kung kailan sila best na use. Summarization lang 'to ng lahat which kino-compare yung mucoactive drugs based sa mechanism nila and best clinical use. So, for NAC or the N-acetylcysteine, yung action niya, it breaks disulfide bonds in mucoproteins and it is best used for tick secretion. However, limitation niya is irritation and bronchospasm. And then we have Dornice alpha. Action niya is breaks extracellular DNA and it is best used in cystic fibrosis. And strong evidence and clinical benefits also. Hypertonic saline naman, action niya is na-hydrate na yung mucus natin via osmotic water movement and it is best used in cystic fibrosis also and it improves mucociliary clearance. Ang ating guaifenesin, yung action niya is it increases airway fluid. It is best used in cases of URI or upper respiratory infections. However, we have limited evidence na nakaka-help talaga siya sa lower airway diseases. So in summary, mucus becomes problematic when its composition or hydration is altered, and selecting the correct therapy depends pa rin sa identifying whether the issue involves protein cross-linking, extracellular DNA, or dehydration. So if we understand yung mechanisms na 'to, puwede natin siyang ma-apply treatment appropriately in conditions like cystic fibrosis and respiratory infections. With that, I will now hand over the discussion to our next speaker, who will continue with the next important topic. Thank you. So our next slide is the mucokinetics. So next slide, please. So pag sinabi nating mucokinetics or mga mucokinetic agents, sila yung mga agents na nag-i-increase ng cough clearance. So they do this by increasing ating expiratory airflow or by reducing yung sputum adhesivity and yung tenacity. Next slide. So, ayan. So, yun lang yung sinabi ko kanina. So, ayun nga, since itong mga mucokinetic agents na to, parang hini-help niya tayo na ma-excrete yung mucus natin from our lungs. So, since parang excrete itong mga mucus na to, kailangan natin ng increase na expiratory airflow or ng increase na airflow velocity para lumabas sila or ma-expectorate sila sa ating lungs. And itong mga mucokinetic agents na rin to is nireduce din nila yung ating sputum adhesivity or tenacity. So parang think of it na parang nakakapit kasi yung mucus sa may epithelium. So yung itong mga mucokinetic agents na to is parang tinatanggal niya yung pagka-strong ng adhesion niya sa may epithelium para mabilis na lang natin siyang ma-expectorate. Okay, so next slide is we have the mechanisms ng ating mucokinetic agents. So itong mga kinetic agents na to, they act by increasing yung ating ciliary beat frequency and also by increasing our expiratory airflow velocity, by reducing yung ating airway collapse, and by improving our mucus transport dynamics. So itong mga mucokinetic agents, ini-increase nila yung ating ciliary beat frequency. So ano nga ba yung ciliary beat frequency? Since di ba meron yung ating lungs, meron tayong parang mucociliary mechanism in which yung cilia is parang tinataas niya ganun. Parang dinadala niya yung mucus sa ating upper airways para ma-expectorate. So, itong mga mucokinetic agents na to is pinapabilis niya yung mga cilia na to para ma-move siya toward our upper airways or toward our throat para ma-expectorate yung ating mucus. And then next is we have the increasing expiratory airflow velocity. Parang yun lang din yung sinabi ko kanina na yun nga, kapag faster yung airflow or kapag faster yung velocity, mas mabilis siyang ma-expectorate from our lungs. And it also reduces airway collapse. At ang mga mucokinetic agents na to, important yung pag-reduce ng airway collapse para hindi rin magkaroon ng mucus plugging sa ating mga alveoli. So, it also improves mucus transport dynamics. So, itong mucus transport dynamics, parang think of it like mechanism na siya, na yung airflow, plus yung mga mucus na properties, and yung cilia, parang ano na sila, nag-work sila together. Parang yun na yung pinaka-mucociliary mechanism para yun nga, ma-expectorate yung ating mucus. So, next slide. So, we have our beta-agonist. So, itong mga beta-agonists or mga bronchodilators natin as mucokinetics. So, ini-increase nila yung ating ciliary beat frequency, pero meron lang silang lethal effect on ciliary clearance. Parang yun nga yung explain ko kanina kung ano yung ciliary beat frequency, di ba? And they also increase our expiratory airflow, which is discussed din kanina. And they also improve our mucus movement. So, next slide. So, itong mga beta-agonists natin, besides this advantages or besides this help na ginagawa niya to expectorate yung cough or para magkaroon ng cough clearance, meron din siyang disadvantages. So, ang disadvantages niya is pwede niyang iwasan yung airway collapse na pwedeng mag-cause ng flappy na airways. So, etong mga flappy na airways lang naman is nangyayari siya kapag sa mga patients na merong hindi ganyan or kapag yung patient mo is wala na yung parang structural support ng lungs niya. Kaya yung bronchodilation na suppose na ginagawa ng itong mga bronchodilator
is nire-remove niya yung smooth muscle tone kasi nga ano na siya parang na-lock na yung structural support ng lungs, 'di ba? So, puwedeng magkaroon ng airway collapse or ng atelectasis during our expiration, and then puwede ring magkaroon ng mucus plugging or puwede ring ma-trap yung mucus doon kasi nga may collapse. So, parang nagko-constrict yung mucus natin, gano'n. So, parang nabi-build up yung mucus dun. So, next slide is we have naman yung ating surface active phospholipids or yung ating mga surface. So, ang function ng mga surfactant naman na 'to is prevent niya yung airway dehydration, and it also improves ciliary coupling with mucus, and pine-prevent na rin niya yung mucus adhesion to epithelium, and it also improves pulmonary function and sputum transportability in patients with cystic fibrosis, and it has the ability to increase lower airway deposition of other aerosol medications. So, 'di ba alam naman natin na yung surfactant natin, they are produced by our alveolar type 2 cells. So, itong mga alveolar type 2 cells na 'to is very important sila para ma-maintain yung ating lung compliance, 'di ba? So, gano'n din sila sa may parang alveoli, since itong mga surfactant parang slippery liquid kasi sila. So, since yung alveoli kailangan nilang parang parang think of it as skincare ng alveoli um kasi without yung surfactant na 'to, puwedeng magkaroon ng airway drying, kaya itong surfactant is pine-prevent niya rin yung airway dehydration. So, it also improves ciliary coupling with mucus. Since slippery nga yung yung alveoli, mas easier na nag-slip yung mucus, and mas easier din siyang na-expectorate, yun. And then also it prevents mucus adhesion sa ating epithelium, and it improves pulmonary function and sputum transportability sa mga patients na may cystic fibrosis. And ito namang sinasabi na merong increase in lower airway deposition ng other areas. So, parang itong surfactant pero selected lang na medications is it acts as a carrier, gano'n. Kaya nai-increase yung lower airway deposition. So, ang result nun is parang mas effective yung gamot na binibigay dun sa mga pasyente. So, next slide. Ayan, pero in cases na merong inflammation or yun nga, may disease yung isang pasyente, yung surfactant natin degrade siya by the phospholipases. And bag nangyari yun, yung sinabi ko kanina. So, ang result nun puwedeng magkaroon ng mga thick na secretions yung patient natin. Use naman nitong surfactant, yung mga surface active lipids natin are yun nga, yung mga improves yung sputum transport, especially in patients na mayroong cystic fibrosis or mga chronic na bronchitis. Okay, so let's proceed na sa next topic, which is yung mucokinetic na medications. So, ano nga ba 'tong mucoregulatory medications natin or mga mucokinetic medications? Next slide, please. So, itong mga mucoregulatory agents, sila yung mga medications na nagde-decrease ng mucus hypersecretion. So, saan ba nanggaling yung mucus hypersecretion na 'to? So, itong mga mucus hypersecretion na 'to, galing siya sa goblet cells and sa submucosal cells. So, itong mga gamot na 'to or mga agents na 'to is naghe-help sila para ma-decrease siyempre yung secretions, and para hindi na mahirapan masyado yung pasyente natin na um tawag dito, mag-excrete ng kanyang mucus. So, next is our different types ng mga medications. First is the anti-inflammatory agents or the anti-inflammatory drugs, anticholinergic agents, and the macrolide antibiotics. Next slide. For our anti-inflammatory agents, it includes the corticosteroids and also the aerosolized indomethacin. So next slide ulit. So itong corticosteroid naman na 'to, so, ni-reduce nila yung inflammatory stimulus na nagle-lead sa mucus hypersecretion. So, parang parang meron kasing stimulus na parang sine-switch off nila, parang gano'n, think of it like na gano'n na lang para hindi magkaroon ng airway inflammation. So, dine-decrease nila yung, stimulation ng goblet cells at ni-reduce nila yung overall na hypersecretion. So, itong corticosteroids ginagamit siya sa mga patients natin na may asthma, 'di ba kapag nga may asthma. So, ginagamit itong corticosteroids bronchitis. So, ang overall effect nito parang it makes the lungs easier to ventilate kasi nga nawawala yung or nababawasan yung mga thick na secretions or yung mga secretions from the lungs. So, yung airflow is improve siya and reduce din yung mucus plugging. So, next slide. Next slide is we have our aerosolized indomethacin. So ito namang aerosolized indomethacin is ginagamit lang siya sa may Japan para ma-treat itong diffuse panbronchiolitis. Itong diffuse panbronchiolitis kasi parang on this disease siya sa may ating bronchial epithelium ganun. And itong ginagawa ng indomethacin is parang same lang siya with the corticosteroids na ni-reduce niya rin yung inflammation. So nare-reduce din yung mga secretions. Okay, next slide. The next is our anticholinergic na agents. Itong mga anticholinergic agents na 'to, we have atropine and our quaternary ammonium derivatives, which is the ipratropium bromide and the tiotropium. So, next slide. So, itong mga anticholinergic agents kasi parang binablock nila yung muscarinic M3 receptors natin sa ating airway glands para ma-reduce din yung mucus secretions. So, clinically ginagamit itong mga anticholinergic agents sa mga patients na mayroong COPD and also sa mga patients na may mayroong chronic bronchitis. So, itong atropine is given lang siya perioperatively and nagpe-prevent siya ng laryngospasm and nagde-decrease siya ng secretions during intubation, especially kapag nako-connect na sa mechanical ventilator yung patient natin. So itong atropine is nagde-decrease siya ng ng hypersecretions but hindi niya ini-increase yung ating viscosity. So parang ni-reduce niya lang yung volume na napo-produce yung volume ng mucus na napo-produce sa ating lungs. So ganun siya. Next is we have our quaternary ammonium derivatives. Next slide. So ito namang mga quaternary ammonium derivatives natin, it includes the ipratropium bromide and the tiotropium. So itong ipratropium bromide, it is widely used siya as a bronchodilator. And itong kasing mga quaternary ammonium derivatives natin, they do not cross our blood brain barrier. So ayun yung advantages niya. Kaya isa sa advantages niya is minimal yung ating systematic absorption and fewer din yung side effects. So decrease yung parang presence ng tachycardia or ng flushing. And ipratropium also reduces our mucus volume in chronic bronchitis. And ayun nga, tulad ng sabi ko kanina, it is widely used as a bronchodilator. So next. Next slide is our macrolide antibiotics. So itong mga macrolide antibiotics natin, ang example niya is mga azithromycin and mga erythromycin. So they work as an parang immunomodulatory sila. So parang kina-calm down nila yung mga overactive na neutrophils. And again, yung nga 'di ba parang, ginagamit itong macrolide antibiotics para ma-reduce yun. So, it reduces the neutrophilic inflammation. So, kapag na-reduce yung neutrophilic inflammation, magkakaroon na yung ng mucus production. So, it is clinically used para for diffuse bronchiolitis and sa mga may patients na may cystic fibrosis and sa mga patients na rin na mayroong bronchiectasis. So, ang properties niya, ayun, meron siyang immunomodulatory properties and it is different from corticosteroids. And then it decreases yung airway inflammation and also reduces mucus hypersecretion. So, one of the clinical benefits din ng ating macrolide antibiotics is reduce yung exacerbations when it comes to our patient. And pwede rin magkaroon ng improved na mucus clearance kasi nga, ayun nga, na-reduce yung ating hypersecretion. So, next slide. So, next is our airway clearance devices. So, alam naman natin na yung medication is not enough. So, kailangan din natin ng mga devices to work with para properly ma-administer yung therapy or properly ma-administer yung effect ng isang gamot. So, next na. So, yun nga, tulad ng sinabi ko, why airway clearance is essential because drug therapy is not alone. So, parang it is, lagi siyang combined with medication therapy. So, we have also the airway clearance techniques, which is it helps to mobilize secretions, ma-improve yung cough effectiveness, and ma-prevent yung ating infection. So, itong mga techniques na to is important nga siya na ma-combine with yung active medications para best yung results natin when it comes to therapy ng ating patient. And for example, yung mucus thinners is nilusan yung secretions. So kapag nilusan yung secretions, yung clearance devices naman yung nagre-remove nun sa kanila. So next slide, we have the cough mechanics. So itong cough mechanics, meron siyang 4 phases. Yung cough natin, di ba, meron siyang 4 phases. First is the irritation. Second is the inspiration pala. Then third is the compression, and then pang-apat is the expulsion. So itong effective cough, it requires a deep inspiration, a glottic closure and a high expiratory flow. So itong deep inspiration kasi, it fills the lungs with the air. At itong glottis closure naman is parang may nabibuild na pressure inside the chest para expectoration properly. And itong high expiratory flow naman is yun na yung expectoration in which yung explosive air is na-release para ma-push yung mucus out of the lungs. So, in diseases kasi like, kunwari yung pasyente mo, meron siyang chronic bronchitis. So, weak yung cough niya. So, kapag weak yung cough niya, pwedeng magkaroon ng poor na secretion clearance. Parang hindi sila nakaka-cough ng mabuti, ganun. Kasi nga, impaired yung parang lung compliance na rin nila. So, next slide. Next is we have the conventional chest physiotherapy. So, itong conventional chest physiotherapy it is also called the postural drainage and percussion therapy. So, ang pinaka-goal nito is to mobilize yung mucus and ma-improve yung ating cough efficiency and also to prevent yung ating infection. So, ginagamit ito sa mga patients na mayroong cystic fibrosis at sa mga patients rin na mayroong bronchiectasis. So, itong CPT, it includes postural drainage. And as you can see sa ating picture is ito yung mga different positions ng mga postural drainage. And it also includes percussion and vibration. So, itong CPT, it includes positioning ng ating patient yung nandyan sa may picture. And it also includes, yun nga, pinapercuss muna and pinapercuss yung chest, parang, tas after that, i-auscultate and then titingnan for vibration gamit yung step. So, next is, ang ano lang nito, parang disadvantage niya is pwede siyang maworsen yung reflux, especially sa mga patients natin na mayroong GERD. So yun. Next is slide. We have the positive airway pressure. So itong positive airway pressure, meron siyang different types. Meron tayong PEP or the positive expiratory pressure, the EPOP or the expiratory positive pressure, the CPAP, which is the continuous positive airway pressure. So ang pinaka-mechanism na tong positive airway pressure is pinaprevent nila yung airway collapse, ina-improve din nila yung expiratory flow, and ina-enhance nila yung mucous movement. Itong CPAP din pala is usually ginagamit din siya sa mga patients na mayroong apnea. So it is used clinically for mga patients na mayroong COPD, atelectasis, and cystic fibrosis. So parang itong positive airway pressure is kinikip niya yung airway na open para yung mucus natin, it can move upward para yun nga, for expectoration. So next slide. Next slide is we have the high frequency chest wall compression. So itong high frequency chest wall compression is also called the VEST therapy. So it works by rapid na chest wall oscillations, and nilulusan niya rin yung mucus from our airway walls, and it also improves mobilization. So itong high frequency chest wall compression is mas effective siya when it is used with Dornice alpha, or yung sinabi kanina ni Frances. And ginagamit lang siya sa mga patients na mayroong cystic fibrosis. So ang best therapy, ayun nga, sabi ko kanina, it oscillates the chest wall and it also enhances circulation. So next slide. Next slide is we have our flutter oscillation devices. So ang examples ito is it includes yung ating mga flutter valve devices. So nagpo-provide kasi sila ng positive expiratory pressure, which is nagka-create yun ng airway vibration. And yung airway vibration na yun, sinishake niya yung mucus, which is naglo-lose yun from airway walls, and then syempre saka magkakaroon ng expectoration. So itong effectiveness naman ng flutter oscillation devices is variable siya. Nakadepende siya sa may proper technique na ginagamit. So yun. Then we have last is the autogenic drainage and Huff-Puff. So itong autogenic drainage naman, breathing technique siya na minumove niya yung mucus step by step. So from the small airways to the medium airways, and then pumunta sa may large airways, and then saka magkakaroon ng cough or saka mag-expectorate ang mucus. So itong autogenic drainage is controlled breathing siya sa different na lung volumes. So nga sinabi ko kanina, step by step siya. So it mobilizes secretions from our small to large areas. And we have also the huff cough. Ang huff cough naman is forced exhalation siya na open yung glottis. Parang fogging, yung sound niya fogging mirror. And then itong huff cough na to, pinaprevent yung airway collapse, and it also moves mucus without exhausting the patient. And ginagamit lang siya sa mga patients na mayroong cystic fibrosis and sa mga patients na mayroong bronchiectasis. So itong hazards and complications will be discussed by our next presenter.
So, we will now move to the hazards and complications of the N-acetylcysteine or the NAC. Next slide. So, the hazards are the potential dangers that can occur during or immediately after the N-acetylcysteine administration or the NAC. So, first is the bronchospasm. Your bronchospasm is airway tightening. So, this is the most serious risk that is caused by acidic nature of your N-acetylcysteine. So, acidic siya, and kapag na-inhale natin siya, so irritate yung air lining ng airway, causing them to constrict. So nagko-constrict yung ating airways kapag na-inhale natin yung cysteine. So common siya sa mga patients na may asthma because their airways are already sensitive. So your NaC comes in different strengths. The 10% solution is likely to cause the bronchospasm than the 20% solution. So to reduce the risk, the doctor or the physician may give a fast-acting bronchodilator before the treatment. So think of this like opening the airway before putting something acidic into it. So next slide. So next is the airway blockage. Your airway blockage is the another hazard to your airway obstruction. So the N-acetylcysteine or the NAC works by loosening the thick mucus, which is good naman siya, but sometimes this can produce a large amount of secretions at once. So suction equipment must be ready, especially important for patients with artificial airways. So these secretions pwede siyang mag-accumulate and pwede niyang i-block yung ating airway, especially sa mga patients who have a weak coughing ability or merong mga artificial airways. Like sa mga patients na may tracheostomy or mga naka-endotracheal tube. That's why yung suction equipment should always be available during the treatment. So think of it like having a vacuum na naka-ready na agad when cleaning up a spill. So next is the airway irritation for or from concentrated residue. So during long nebulization treatments, so after 3/4 of solution is nebulized, the remaining 1/4 should be diluted with sterile water. So it prevents irritation from highly concentrated leftover solution. So these long treatment precautions, no. So during nebulization, yung remaining na solution is pwede siyang maging concentrated. So especially yung last portion. So highly concentrated yung ating N-acetylcysteine that is more irritating sa ating airway. So para maiwasan natin yung ganon, no, yung final 1/4 ng solution is dapat na i-dilute siya with the sterile water. So ito natutulungan nito to reduce yung irritation and it will make the treatment more comfortable. So isipin na lang natin or think of it like a watering down a very strong juice, no? But it doesn't burn your throat. So parang ganun. So next slide. So next is the complications. So when we say complications, these are your undesirable effects or your side effects that may develop. So first is the mouth irritation or your stomatitis. So these are your soreness or burning sensation in the mouth. Then nausea and runny nose. Your unpleasant odor and your sticky residue on skin. So your nausea and runny nose, yung gamot na ito is nagbibigay siya ng or nagti-trigger siya ng tini-trigger niya yung vomiting and nausea kasi dun sa amoy ng ibibigay na or yung amoy galing dun sa gamot. So yung amoy niya, it smells like a rotten egg. So kagaya nga ng sinabi ko kanina, nati-trigger niya yung vomiting and nausea. And yung amoy na yun, it comes from the hydrogen sulfide gas na nire-release ng gamot. And like what I said a while ago, it will cause your nausea or vomiting. So these effects are generally mild lang siya, but it can make the treatment more uncomfortable for the patient. So sa sticky residue naman, yung nebulized na NAC or your N-acetylcysteine is nag-iiwan siya ng sticky film sa skin ng pasyente. So hindi naman siya harmful, but it can make the patient uncomfortable. So it should be nalilinis dapat siya after the treatment to improve yung comfort ng pasyente and yun nga, na-improve niya yung treat dun sa ating pasyente. Next slide. So next is the future mucus controlling agents. So I will discuss the future mucus controlling agents. So next slide. So these are the modern approach to mucus control. So instead of just thinning it, dapat balance lang siya. So meron tayong comparison dito, the old and the new concept. So old idea is yung mucolytics only reduce the viscosity or the thin mucus. So in the past, no, yung mucolytics ay mainly na ginagamit lang siya to reduce viscosity. Meaning, they are trying to sa new understanding ngayon, very like para maliit lang yung transport ng mucus, konti lang siya. So, important that yung elasticity will allow the mucus to stretch and be transported by cilia. O, yung tiny hair-like structure sa ating mga airways. So, next slide. Next is the treatment goal. Yung new goal is to normalize yung mucus rheology, which means we will get the right balance of the viscosity and elasticity. So yung mucus, it should be to be the thick enough stick dapat ano proceed niya, preserve yung elasticity niya, and improve yung ciliary and cuff clear to the different problems and different solutions. So the thick and purulent sputum use the Dornice alpha, reduces tenacity and improve transport, very thin mucus. Your bronchorrhea, use mucospecific agents will increase the thickness. So yung thick and purulent sputum, yung Dornice alpha, yun yung ginagamit to reduce yung stickiness and help transport. So yung very thin na mucus naman or yung bronchorrhea, yung mucospecific agents ay nag-i-increase ng thickness and elasticity so that yung mucus ay nakaka-move siya. Then adhesive sputum in the cystic fibrosis, asthma, chronic bronchitis is magamit siya ng mucokinetic agents. So, yung mucokinetic agents will reduce the tenacity while preserving elasticity. So, each drug targets the specific problems of the mucus, not just its thickness. So, yung future treatment will result to normalize yung mucus properties, yung balanced viscosity plus the elasticity, and the optimize the airway clearance. So, next is the assessment of coactive drug. Next slide. So, why assessment is difficult? So, today, dapat yung pag-assess natin sa patient natin is before, during, and after the treatment. So, the forced expiratory volume in 1 second or your FEV1 is not sensitive to small changes in mucus clearance. So, the sputum volume varies day to day and is not reliable for evaluating therapy. So, yung sputum volume, sinasabi ko kanina na varies siya day to day. So, yung better approach natin dito is to monitor your gas trapping and itatrack natin yung lung function na nag-decline over time. So this will help us see meaningful changes rather than small fluctuations. So yun nga, yung better indicators dito is change in gas trapping, rate of lung function, and that declines over time. So next slide po. So before the treatment. So, we should assess yung cough effectiveness, yung level of consciousness. So we should also determine for the mechanical suctioning, adjunct bronchial hygiene. So yung cough strength, so kailangan nating i-assess kung yung pasyente natin kaya ba niyang mag-clear ng mucus on their own. So next is the level of consciousness. So yung pasyente ba natin ay awake and alert ba siya to cooperate? So kapag yung pasyente natin cannot safely clear mucus or his own, so dapat yung mechanical suctioning natin or yung mga other techniques natin ay dapat maybe needed. So in some cases, no, yung treatment may be unsafe and it should be avoided. So contraindicated if airways cannot be um, cleared safely. So next slide po. So during the treatment naman or short-term monitoring. So during therapy, no, we should teach and verify proper nebulizer use, ensure correct cleaning of equipment, monitor airflow changes, assess breathing rate and pattern, ask about the patient's subjective response. So, kailangan nating turuan at kung pwede ipa-return demo natin yung correct na paggamit ng nebulizer equipment. So, i-ensure din natin na yung cleaning ng mga devices natin ay palagi so that to prevent infection. So we need also to monitor our airflow changes. So kailangan natin tingnan yung FEV1 natin kapag nag-decrease. So we should also observe yung breathing pattern, yung rate at effort. And then we should always ask questions about discomfort, kung meron ba siyang kung may sakit ba sa kanya, ganyan, mga discomfort or meron ba siyang hihirapan ba siyang huminga, ganyan. So, if adverse reactions occur, no, you should stop the therapy immediately. Next slide. So, next is the long-term monitoring. So, sa long-term care naman, we should know the frequency and severity of respiratory infections, the need for antibiotics, the ER visits and hospitalizations, the pulmonary function stability or slowing of decline. So we should track the number and severity of the respiratory infections. Dapat i-monitor natin yung antibiotic use nila, yung emergency visits and hospitalizations. And we should also monitor the pulmonary function to see kung nag-improve ba yung patients natin or at least meron man lang deterioration. So long-term monitoring ay ini-ensure niya yung therapy that is truly beneficial sa ating lung health. So next slide po. Next is the general contraindications and cautions. So if the FEV1 is less than 25% predicted, secretions may be difficult to mobilize because clearing, yung sinasabi ko kanina na mahirap siyang i-clear yung mucus. So, severe lung disease or neuromuscular disorders like your end-stage disease, your neuromuscular. Yun nga yung sinasabi ko. Use it with caution. Then, the risk factors, your gastroesophageal reflux or poor airway protection, risk of aspirations, and then the acute bronchitis or exacerbation of the cystic fibrosis, the um, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So therapy may be less effective. So these precautions help avoid complications during therapy. So assessment should not rely solely on numbers like FEV1. So we should focus also to the patient's ability to clear secretions. So, tingnan natin yung ability ng patients natin kung kaya ba niyang mag-clear ng secretions niya. Tingnan natin or mag-focus din tayo sa breathing patterns nila, sa frequency of infection, sa long-term lung health. So, thorough assessment ensures yung safe at effective na mucoactive therapy. So, that ends our discussion on the mucus controlling drug therapy. So, thank you for listening.